It's the old Doctor Who show, episode number 59, The Two Doctors. There are two doctors this time.
Go forward in all your beliefs and prove to me that I am not mistaken in mine. You couldn't control my mind before, and you certainly can't control it now.
Would you like a jelly, baby?
The TARDIS, when working properly, is capable of many amazing things.
Reverse the polarity of the neutron flows, and the TARDIS will be free of the force field.
But the TARDIS is more than a machine. It's like a person, you see.
The resulting reaction is Friday. Are you ready?
Welcome back to the old Doctor Who show, your tri-weekly classic Doctor Who review podcast. My name is Eric Grissom.
And I'm Dan Johnson. And that was probably the smoothest first take intro you've ever
I feel it. You know why? Because
because you weren't thinking about it.
Yeah, fans of the show who are peeking through my window currently will notice the clock on the wall says 3:30.
Oh, yeah,
We're
true.
usually Sunday morning people.
Today
10
we are.
a.m., somewhere around there. And here we are in the afternoon. I just saw Avengers. So I'm living that Avengers...
all hyped up on Avengers
riding
adrenaline.
that train all the way down. It was a very good movie, but that's all I will say about that.
Avenger adrenaline.
Yeah, it is Sunday, friends, May 6th. Yesterday was Free Comic Book Day, Dan.
Ooh,
And
okay.
one of the free comic books was Doctor Who. See here? Doctor Who it's put out by Titan. I don't usually read Doctor Who comics. I think I've talked about here on the show before. Despite loving comics and loving Doctor Who, the two never came together. But it was free, and I picked it up.
Is it mostly because you don't want to read it until you're offered a gig writing for it? Is that why?
That is part of it.
That's probably
That is part of it.
I would say that's
complained
emotionally part of it.
Yeah, I complained the other day because I would love to do that. But the reason why I bring that up here is there's one of the stories. It's like four kind of mini stories.
Yeah.
One of them is you get Ace and you get Sylvester McCoy.
Oh, holy
Doctor
crap.
story. So I guess they have a new book, a new title, gonna run with that Doctor. That was very good. It was my favorite of the. There's really three, 6-page or 6 to 8 page stories in here, and then there's a fourth which introduced the new Doctor, but it's literally just a 1-page thing.
Okay.
The art
I think
looks
I saw a screen cap of that, and it does look great. But it's hard to know anything about. Like the one panel I just saw was the Doctor emerging from the TARDIS, and she has a smile on her face, and like I don't know anything about the character, so it doesn't mean anything to me.
I
I don't know what that is.
Spoiler, because there's nothing to spoil.
Right.
But it that'll be cool. But I just wanted to bring up. It's called the Armageddon Gambit. No, it's not. No, it's not. Isn't? Yes, it is. It's called the Armageddon Gambit. Written by John Freeman, and art is Christopher Jones, and Marco Lesko did the color. So if you're into the classic series,
you had there were other Doctors on that cover. So who do they
talk about covers? This is why I don't like
I don't like that.
licensed proproperties. I don't
those
like
all feel like those are screenshots that they ran.
That's what it is. It's photo real. It's a photo of Matt Smith, David Tennant, and Capaldi.
Those are just photos. They're not like photoreal drawings.
That. And that's like a common theme with comics and licensed materials, whether it's Charmed or Doctor Who, whatever. And I hate that. I want my covers of my comics to
I
be
think the
drawn.
covers are so important.
You know what else I hate, Dan? When they adopt a book into a TV thing or a movie, and then they redo the covers. And
they retro. Yes, I don't like that either.
They put the thing from the movie on it, and I hate that. And whatever.
Yeah. As a big reader of like all through my childhood, all through adulthood, really reading Stephen King, he's had probably about 20 different covers per book because it's been going on forever, and then they get redone because there's the movie version. Like the It ones are all different now because of the movies, and that always bugged me too. There was a series where they went through and redid his entire catalog. I guess they did that a couple of times, but there's just one artist. They felt like they were all of a piece. That was pretty nice, but I'm going off on a tangent. I would prefer covers that have very considered cover art as opposed to, and it doesn't have to be the same, penciler that's doing the inside of the book. It could just be, but as long as there's some thought behind it and it's not just a freaking photo.
I hate when it's a photo, and I understand. I'm sure there's a spreadsheet somewhere that says, dummy, this works. Because obviously people that are familiar with the show, they were going to be drawn to the comic from whatever. It's fine.
My question was, on that cover you had photos of the 3 most recent Doctors.
Yeah, and each one of these has a story in it. So there's
plus the one with Sylvester McCoy, because I don't see him on the cover.
Yeah, no, he doesn't get the cover treatment.
Son of a.
But he is he is one of the stories in it.
Okay, gotcha. That's
It's
what
fine. It's all good. I just
check it out.
want to do a quick thing because it's my world's merging, and I would recommend that maybe if you're interested in the Sylvester McCoy A story, or as a team, it seems like they're launching a new comic title about them.
Which is strange considering from what you were tweeting, they didn't make an appearance at Comic-Con, at New York Comic-Con?
They didn't. I don't know why they canceled. I mean, they do appearances all the time, so whatever.
Right.
Yeah, I was excited because I did East Coast Comic-Con, I guess it was 2 weeks ago. Or no, last weekend.
Last week, yeah.
Feels like forever. And I was, it was cool they were going to be there, but they did not go. So if anybody somehow went on my recommendation, I apologize. But I also don't apologize because you didn't stop by to see me to tell me that. So obviously,
they weren't too upset about it.
Yeah, you weren't too into the show that you wouldn't stop and find my table, which was in a corner while simultaneously being in the middle of an aisle. So you're really making it. You feel really well when they're like, "Where's my table?" Yeah, you're in the closet, and you have to move sort of the cleaning supplies to set your place up.
Sounds super convenient.
It's
though.
cool.
That's
Let's
nice.
talk about 2 doctors.
Oh,
right.
Which 2 do you want to talk about?
I want to get into it. I want to get into this story. Unless
This
you have
story?
anything else. How
No,
rude
let's
of me. I'm just rambling.
No, that's fine. We're off on a tear. Let's do it.
Yeah,
the 2 Doctors.
Yeah, 2 doctors. All right, so Dan, hit the button and let's just jump into the madness.
Long way from the war, aren't you, Stike? Going badly, is it?
On the contrary, and thanks to the information you've just given me, I shall be back in time for the crucial battle.
My money's still on the Rootons.
Into the machine. Time, Lord.
Why? Oh, of course. You don't really expect me to give the Suntarans the power of unlimited time travel, do you?
Oh, do it, or your comrade dies. Get in!
This is the 2 Doctors. This is the 4th serial of the 22nd season, Dan, of the show we watched called Doctor Who.
Shoot, wrong show.
Yeah.
We'll be right back.
It's written by Robert Holmes. So what an exciting return to form that we're getting more Robert Holmes stories.
He's pretty much written everything.
He has, but we have not seen him in a while.
That's true.
He's been away.
I mean,
so
since
that was very exciting.
Since 4th Doctor, maybe 5th Doctor.
I don't think we've seen him since the Caves of Androzani, right?
Yeah, I think that's right. I'm looking to see if there's anything after. Nope, that was the last one. So yeah, it's been
So it's been a while.
time.
In any case, this is directed by Peter Moffat, who we've seen before as well.
I think this is the last one that he directs.
Okay.
That we watch.
This is a story that starts off with the 2nd Doctor and Jamie. Jamie's back, kilt and all, or he eventually gets that kilt back.
Yep.
And they're going to be inspecting the space station Chimera, Dan, because they are unhappy that they're getting too close to time travel. And I know this is the description, but this feeds into your whole rant before about, if everybody has time travel and why aren't they using the delirium crystals or whatever from that other story that we did. Meanwhile, at the same time, the Doctor and Perry are
fishing.
at the beach or fishing.
They're
fishing and hanging out, and they all end up together and everything's fine. As you can see, I went to see the Avengers instead of writing the description. And I told Dan before, I was like, yeah, I'll just wing it. But when you watch a story that has a guy called Shockeye that spends the entire movie just hoping to eat human flesh, and doesn't get his wish,
I know.
What else is there to say? On that note, Dan, I toss to you, what did you think of the 2 Doctors?
I liked 2/3 of this story, meaning it did not need to be a 3-part story at all. If we had cut out a whole bunch of stuff and tightened it up to a 2-parter, this would have been a fantastic story, I think.
Well, I will, and to clarify there, this is a 45 minute. So this is really like a throwback to our old 6-part Doctor Who stories. There's a lot of stuff.
and see my previous comments during that time period where I said the story's too flabby, you could cut out half of it and we'd be much better off. I think that's the case here as well. I mean, I liked so much of what was happening here. We'll come back around, but like talking about Shock Guy, I think was an incredible character throughout. Really funny and also gross and menacing at the same time. You know, the whole storyline going on with the scientist at the space station and their attempts at time travel, and you have what's his name, Dastari.
The old cocaine glasses.
1980s A&R executive.
Right. If you needed to buy cocaine in Studio 54, you had to go find Dastari by the third stall from the end.
The second Doctor was just so fantastic. It was so good to see Patrick Troughton and also to see Jamie. That was just a lot of fun. It's unfortunate that there wasn't so much interaction between the two Doctors, and what interaction there was didn't feel all that great. It just kind of, there was no chemistry there, but it wasn't even like it wasn't just like bad blood, which can kind of happen with some Doctors. Some Doctors don't like seeing each other or whatever. There was just nothing. It just felt flat between the two of them. So that bugged me. But the main thing, I think the whole story, we could have just dropped everything with the Sontarans and unfortunately dropped everything with Oscar and Anita, and that would have been I know. I put them in that order. Drop the Sontarans first, and then if we'd still too loose and flabby, then we can cut back Oscar and Anita.
All right, I'll give you...
So apparently we got Oscar stands in the house here.
I'll give you the drop the Sontarans.
Because they
could have been any villain. You
anything.
Just needed
but
some
it
kind of threat to
I guess.
I'm going to
there was no
disagree
real
with you.
threat.
No, I'm going to disagree with you. I'm going to disagree with you, Dan.
Do it.
I love this story so much. Like, it's a awesome black comedy. Like, this is one of the funniest, darkest stories that I think that we've ever done. And there's this whole vegetarianism thing that's running. There's an undercurrent through it. And we've talked. I'm a pescatarian myself, so I could relate to some parts of it. But the thing that I like so much about the Sontarans, could have been any race, but the fact that it was the Sontarans, fine, was all the double crossing that you got, where the Sontarans are double crossing them and they're secretly double crossing them. And I liked all of that interplay and tension, like when they they lead them into like the basement and they dump that acid on them and everything. And like having all of that stuff where it wasn't just, okay, it's going to be the Doctor and their companions versus this Androgums. Which at first I was like, oh, they're like clones, like android. No, they're just subhuman, which has this weird racist thing also going on. But I like the fact that you had two enemies that were also at war with each other that created this little neat Trinity thing. I thought worked.
What was Chasine and Dastari? What were they getting from the Sontarans exactly?
What were they getting? Okay, so they obviously let them into the space station to slaughter the scientists that were essentially...
Chasine does. It's not...
She
is
does.
It clear? No. I guess Dastari does too, because they kind of fake... Okay, that's
Shock
true.
Eye was, there's like a nobility to their people, and she was the heir of something or some household thing.
Right.
Whereas I think they were sort of liberating themselves from the oppressive scientists that were operating on them.
Sure.
So they used the Sontarans as military muscle to, because they technically I guess they poison a lot of the scientists too with the food before the Sontarans arrive in Blythe.
Yes.
And then they were selling the time travel tech, but not ever really intentionally. They were going to kill the Sontarans. So I think they just needed their ships
to get them on. I don't know.
It was almost like a jailbreak. So I think
I feel like we could have gotten there so much easier without the Sontarans. Just with this Chasine, who is now this god level genius. They could have even developed her character more and made her more of a threat if she was able to do this all on her own without needing the additional.
Yeah, there's lots of threads that you can pull on this story. I mean, it's full of problems. For one, it's like you talk about she's being genetically modified. And her intelligence is being amplified. But she also has mind power and the ability to absorb mind and memories and stuff. Where did that come from? This guy's got a box
Sure.
of tricks in him that he could, because she takes the memories out of that poor old woman.
Yeah.
But
Donna Arena.
all the stuff in Spain was fantastic. I don't know, somebody on...
Wait, in what way was it? Why do you say that?
Oh, the music was great. The setting was great. It was fun. All at the same time being, like I mentioned, it's very much a black comedy, because you have these scenes that are very funny, and then the guy's stabbed to death in the restaurant.
I did not
but then
see Oscar.
His death
No, I
is
didn't.
funny, and then it's also sad. So, but like it's
Okay.
It's for me, it worked.
Okay.
And I know
I
I
didn't
can
find
see why people would
Oscar's death
complain
funny.
about
I
that.
did. I found so that scene. I mean, we're jumping to the end here, but having the second Doctor and Shockeye in the restaurant, gorging themselves, which was a
We
great,
are jumping to the end because we're also missing the Doctor and Shockeye as the Sizzler sisters.
Yes, we are, prick.
From Kids in the Hall, where they're just going, let's go get, and then they're stealing trucks.
Those wouldn't happen to be your donkeys outside, would they?
Why, no. I mean, we might have stolen them, but that doesn't make them our donkeys, does it?
And they're just talking about food, and it's absurd.
I can't believe you referenced the Sizzler
That was the first thing I thought of.
That's so great.
Gotta drop a clip in at this point, but
That's terrific.
yeah, and I feel like I'm glossing over too why I like Spain so much. And one of the things I had said last story that we did was I love the exteriors. And did someone on Twitter say you're never going to get any more exteriors? Well, this one was full of them.
Yeah. This period is pretty much from what we're learning on Twitter, one of the last we're getting. And I agree with you. Anything that's done as exteriors or location,
yeah, the stuff that's outside,
beautiful.
and it was fun.
It looks great.
This was a funny
The studio
one.
stuff was fine with me. After watching these stories. Typically, we'll watch the full story, then I go back and kind of do some research, read what people had to say about it, check continuity stuff, whatever. And people really didn't like the studio stuff for some reason, but really appreciate the filmic sort of outdoor location stuff. And I kind of agree. I didn't really have a problem with the interiors, but the Spain stuff was fine. But again, it just felt like, hey, we're just going to go on holiday. Where can we set it? Just like when they went to that island before when we first meet Perry. It was just like, we just need an excuse to do a getaway.
Which I think I think that's okay. Because how many times are we going to see people on a space station, or we're going to see people in a hallway? So it's like an abandoned hacienda in the Spanish countryside. Okay, I was down with that.
I could have done without the musical sting every time we switch over to Spain of just the Spanish guitar, like a couple chords, just but it was so loud and just so jarring.
Loud.
It's like, I know where we are. You don't have to cue me to where we are. I get it. Okay, so maybe we should back up and we'll start off. The story opens in black and white.
Yes.
And we have the second Doctor and Jamie in the TARDIS at a console that is not the sixth Doctor's console. And then I had to go back and look because I couldn't quite remember. But apparently it's not even the second Doctor's TARDIS console.
Oh, that I didn't know.
It's
I
not
assumed
quite
it was the second Doctor's.
Yeah, that's what I thought as well, because I went back. I just, jumped between the two different scenes to see if they were different. And it's like, yeah, they are different. It's not the sixth Doctor's TARDIS.
So did you do research?
But then from what I was reading, it's not even the second Doctor's console configuration.
All right.
So
what I was going to ask
that's going to lead in some other stuff.
In your research, did it tell you at what point in Second Doctor's run this episode took place?
So we're going to jump into that.
Because we didn't see the death of the second Doctor, Patrick.
No, we didn't see that. No, we didn't see.
So I don't know where he ends up. Who's his companions at the time? Is it Jamie?
Yeah.
Just him and Jamie, or where are we?
Right. So we didn't see the last story of the second Doctor is War Games, and we're going to come back and do that again in the second time through. But Jamie and Zoe were his companions at the time. At the end of that, apparently. And I just found this out from the research but I don't really tend to like these spoilers for ourselves, but I need to know this. I don't know the details because I don't want to know them yet, but the Time Lord sentenced the second Doctor to a forced regeneration and to be exiled to Earth. We know that from having watched the third Doctor stories. Right. That's kind of what happened. So at the end of this, that story that we haven't watched, apparently you begin to see the Doctor regenerate as the TARDIS goes flying off into space. So you don't actually see him regenerate. And then in the beginning, Spearhead from Space, you see the Doctor falling out of the TARDIS, having regenerated,
obviously
and the
this
third
is taking
Doctor.
place somewhere in his timeline before.
So here's the crux, and I'm going to get, I want feedback from you guys listening to this, because this is just based on my research, and I'm not going to go back and read the voluminous, that's it, works that support this, but this is what a lot of people refer to as Season 6B. So it was meant at the time, from what I understand, that the end of the second Doctor, him regenerating and then into Spearhead from Space, was just meant to be continuous. Like, that was just the next moment that you see the Doctor. But there had been a long period of time between the end of that season airing and the beginning of the next season airing, and then the continuity issues of, the second Doctor comes back a few times. He comes back in the 5 Doctors, the 3 Doctors, and each time he's older. So how is that possible? How can the Doctor be aging if that was the end of his timeline? So it kind of got retconned between this, some novelizations, but before that, some comics, actually, that posited the Doctor was fighting off this regeneration, this forced regeneration, and at some point joins the Celestial Intervention Association, the CIA, and goes off to work for the Time Lords. So he references in this story that he is working for the Time Lords, but they can disavow him.
Just say that part again. So he does join the CIA? Because we had seen them in Terror of the Autons, or was it The Deadly Assassin?
Yeah.
I think. Is that would be Robert Holmes too? They've mentioned them.
They mentioned them before. You're right. I'm sorry. They have, but I don't recall which story. So that's where this kind of fan retconning was coming in.
That seems...
Well, no, but it does. It comes back around. Terrence Dicks at some point starts writing some novelizations and pulls all of this in and makes it official. So it's actually referenced on the BBC.com sites. It's now kind of went from a fan retconning into what we can consider to be part of the continuous.
So that is
canon.
saying that this particular period of time is happening
between War Games and Spearhead from Space. So at some point, the second Doctor goes back and picks up Jamie again. They've been traveling and having a bunch of adventures at the behest of the CIA, sort of working for the Time Lords. So when he says in this story that that was a whole long way around, and I'm sorry for all of you listening, they're like, I've spent so much time reading and looking at this, and I understand it fully. I'm just going to give you my highlights from it because
all right, so it takes place then after, before. Yeah, fine.
But that was the thing that bothered me. No, I mean, I know it doesn't, but it did bother me because why would the Doctor be getting older? Why is Jamie so much older? Jamie really shows. This is
he does, but I just
16 years later.
You suspension of disbelief. It's like none of this stuff makes any sense. So I'm like, he could be playing.
It really didn't bother you at all?
It didn't. No.
Oh no. I'm glad I actually went back and found this, and that the Doctor's references to working for the Time Lords in a way that they could disavow him leads into that. That made me feel much better about it. It really just, it's obvious. It's not like 5 years have passed. 16 years have passed since Jamie had an active role on the show.
He's working for the Time Lords. He talks about that. He talks about how the Time Lords have banished him. Yeah, he mentions that. So that in a way makes sense because he was banished to Earth and he just
So this is what he's doing in between before then.
I could see that lining up. But
anyway, so that's the season 6B stuff. So that also explains possibly why that console in the TARDIS is not his console from the second series, or from his series from the 6th season. It's something in between has happened. Why he also has this device to recall the TARDIS.
Why does Dastari pretend to be drugged? Nobody knows.
He was working. I mean, it was part of Chassine's plot, and he wanted to frame the Time Lords. That's why
he was in on it. So he hits his head down, and he's drugged, and the Doctor's like, Jamie, and then all of a sudden the Sontarans are there, and then they're prisoners, and then that's really for the audience to think that he's not actually working. He's not a bad guy, and then he ends up being a bad guy, and you reveal that when you get to to Spain.
Yeah.
It was like it's going the extra mile to for his deception
for the bit of misdirect, yeah.
Right. Then at the end, his turn back to good is rather quick. I felt
it is unearned. It is absolutely unearned.
He like Caesar sniffing blood or something weird he sees, and he's like, maybe
maybe
that scene was a little crazy. All
That
right,
scene
I'm
was
gonna let you go.
amazing.
Okay, yeah,
that was amazing.
it's a little
So you're talking about they're in Spain, and the doctor's been stabbed, and he's running off, and Shockeye going to go. Shockeye, I think, was going to go chase
Chaka.
after him.
It
Chaka.
would be great
Chaka.
if all of a sudden we could have taken out Shockeye and put Chaka in.
It would have been a different
It would have been a
Chaka.
different show altogether.
Anyway, so he goes chasing
Shockeye, who,
after.
by the way, also reminds me of Barf from You Can't Do That on Television. Like, any minute I thought he was going to pop his head up and like, I heard that. Or, you know, he's always taking roadkill and making it into a food, which actually
hamburgers.
totally makes
Kind
sense
of
'cause he
works.
was a cook in any case.
This all works. It's all coming together.
Right.
But
But yeah, so to start, so
it starts off in black and white. Switches to color. The doctor's going to this space station to tell
Chimera,
these scientists
which
to
is
stop.
This, space station that is made up of nothing
Just
but
scientists.
and they're working
most
on great
brilliant
things. And you
scientists.
keep hearing about Kurtz and Reamer or whatever.
Yes, these two
we never
scientists.
see them, but their names come up a lot. They've developed this time machine and time technology.
Time technology.
And
Yep.
to your point that you've talked about, nobody's really supposed to be messing with time but the Time Lords, and if they do, he's got to be monitoring, and they're going to cause.
I guess.
But yet we heard about how they can get I can't remember the name of whatever the crystals we were getting from that TV
in that
planet,
story. Yeah,
where everybody was using that for time travel anyway. But
everyone in the galaxy needed to have that mineral.
so in any case, the doctor's there to sort of lean on him,
Right.
And he gets a lot of pushback.
Yeah. So, meanwhile, the Sixth Doctor and Perry are fishing, and boy, is Perry not having it in this story. We've said this before. I don't know why she's with him.
Well, I don't know why anyone is with him, because they've taken
Agreed.
this character and he is a blowhard. Like, that's his.
Here's the deal. Agreed. But if she was like, I'm just out for adventure. I want to see everything in the cosmos. I want to meet new aliens. I want to come in contact with new ideas. But, my trade-off is I have to deal with this blowhard. That'd be one thing. But you don't even see that. It doesn't seem like she wants to do anything. There's nothing they're doing that she seems interested in. Are we just missing all of the bits where the Doctor goes and shows her the wonders of the universe, and the only parts that we get to see are the parts where she's gonna, trip and get carried away by some villain?
No,
that chemistry is one thing, and you can get around that by saying she's just a woman who wants adventure and she's going to put up with this guy, and that's the tension. But there's not even that.
No, but Colin Baker on his own,
man,
like to do that kind of thing where he's sort of a know-it-all, but he doesn't listen to people, and he takes people's ideas, and she'll say something, and he'll be like, "You're an idiot," and then he'll say the same thing, and that's the joke,
which is supposed to be funny.
Like, that's hard to pull off and still be charming and not make people just like, "Oh, that guy's a dick." Like,
right.
It's not working for him, for me.
It doesn't.
I just find him repulsive. Like, it's just not he's insufferable to be around. So I feel like we're in trouble because there's still a lot more. We're far enough into the show now with him where I feel like, well, is it going to get better? And I think this is probably it.
See, I agree with you, and I'm afraid that's the case. He does make some weird, when they're still towards the beginning of this, he makes some reference to when he feels the second Doctor being drugged and everything, and then he collapses and has that moment of feeling the other's pain. He says he doesn't quite know what it is, and he says to Perry that he thinks he hasn't quite synchronized yet. But, like, how long has he been in this regeneration? It doesn't make any sense. We don't obviously know how long they've been together because we only see these individual stories, and there could be months in between each of these. But it's not like he hasn't stabilized.
No,
like,
I mean,
it doesn't make any sense.
I guess for him, because he doesn't put the pieces together, that it's because the other, his other self was going through what he was going through. He's just assuming, maybe it's this, but it was really.
But why would he even think that? He's done that 5 times before. Like, he shouldn't. It just seemed like a weird line to throw in there. That's fine.
And the other thing is, the Doctor was not actually tortured. That was a holographic illusion, because the Doctor comes to the theory that I've died in the past, and now we've created this experiment has caused this thing, and the universe is being destroyed, and we're feeling.
He comes up with that elaborate theory of like the space-time embolism.
It's not true.
but he realizes it like 2 minutes later in the story. It's like he comes up with this horrible thing that the entire universe is going to collapse in a matter of centuries, and then nope, that's not it. That was just funny. Like, oh, I guess, sure.
And that whole thing too, where they say, oh, the machine immediately takes your imprint, and then it knows to just generate. That whole thing was kind of where Perry
looks in the mirror,
Perry in the tube of pain. And he's like, see, you're in there because you peeked in that hole before and it took your your photo.
Because they left the animator on because she looked in the mirror and it took her body.
All to tell the Time Lords that the doctor had been killed to stop the investigation, but that's going to start the investigation.
What's it?
They're probably going to be like, okay,
everybody's dead. No reason to look into it.
Happened here. Whatever. It's fine. It's all good.
Ignore this other crime going on. There's just dead bodies everywhere.
So that was to cover their tracks. And again, like, I love this story, but there's lots of things in this story.
There's lots of problems in the story. So why does the Sixth Doctor go to this space station? He pulls out like a list of all the different, like, he wants to figure out what's going on. He pulls out this list of all these brilliant scientists. It's like, oh, Dastari at this place.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of that where things,
the coincidence of like
line up. Where it's like, of course he's going to go there at the same time that has happened. And
he's going there seemingly shortly after that's happened. So
within the same, he didn't show up
holy
2
crap,
weeks
all
before
this,
or something.
Sure.
You know what I mean? So
he has a time machine. He comes here. There's dead bodies everywhere. What's happened? Why is the space station like this? I know. We'll get back in the TARDIS and come back a week earlier. It really okay, so there's that part of the time travel logic,
which is fine, but
you
could honestly apply that to any story.
I know.
So it's like it's okay.
Because they do later. I don't know if I honestly can't recall if it happens in the classic series so much, but in the new series at least, they talk so much about not being able to cross your own timeline and yada yada yada. So I think that's more of a new invention to help them. Because people can review these things so easily now, and like, aha, you screwed up. They put that stricture, like there's fixed points in time and space, and you can't cross your own timeline. But in this one, the Second Doctor kind of says like, well, with all the traveling we're doing, we're bound to run into each other.
Yeah, it's no big deal.
It's like no big deal. Just like, sure, we'll just run into each other.
Well, he's I just hung out with all 5 of them not that long ago.
Right, it was really not long. It was like 2 years previously. There were the 5 Doctors, but. It's this time travel stuff. I'm sorry, it's tedious. But if this all happened to the Second Doctor, why does the Sixth Doctor not remember it?
Well, he doesn't remember it because they kind of say it, right? There was something that happened with Kurtz and Reamer's experiment that created this sphere of time. That's how he was able to be at the same place at the same time too, where
no, that was the theory that he came up with that he discarded 3 minutes later.
Part of his theory was correct.
I don't know.
Just not his own death. And that's how come he didn't remember what happened.
Okay, I'll go with it. I mean, it's obviously it doesn't matter. Like it's fine.
Yeah.
Like they don't need to think through all these things, but it is one of those things that as I watch
form of cover for it.
I guess I wish they would make that a little more clear, but it's like that, and plus what we had just talked about before of the actual actors being older. Like just nod to it and just give me something to let me not think about it, and I'll be fine. But just not really even say anything just kind of bugs me a little bit. Like just acknowledge it and then move on. I don't need a full theory, and actually, it's better if you don't give me everything because I can but don't ignore it. It's just
I don't. I mean, I felt like again. Someone I'm sure will say, "Oh, this is why," but I felt like that.
I hope they do. Please do.
That.
Tell me.
I feel like that was part of that whole thing in the beginning with their experiment.
I can buy
creating a blind spot or whatever.
Maybe I was the one mistaken and kind of disregarded the entire thing once he realized it wasn't about his own death. Maybe you're right. It really was.
Right, because otherwise it would just be him sitting there going, "Wait, that's what happens," or "That's where I am," or that's no fun.
Sure,
that's no fun, man. I loved the shock eye from to your point.
Yep.
The Doctor has this weird thing, and he decides that he's going to talk to his friend, the coke dealer, Dastari. He goes. They find this footage. He realizes that he's not actually dead, and then he does a Doctor Strange astral projection into
Where does he
his
have this
past-
ability?
I don't know. Into
Why
his
does he have
past
this-
self, or
He's
Yeah.
going. He specifically says he's going to use telepathy and go into the astral plane.
Yeah.
And don't touch my body because it might kill me.
Yeah. It's a little
When
strange.
did he get this ability?
Apparently he has it so he can see through the eyes of
Okay.
a past incarnation of himself.
Sure.
Then he hears the bells of
Yes.
the church, and that's enough where he knows exactly where to go,
Boing.
roughly where to go.
Boing.
And then we finally get to Spain, where we have the actor and, you know, a huge nod to Robert Holmes for having this like one-off line of, what do you do for a living? Oh, I run a restaurant. And like, it's just like this weird line. And you're like, okay, well, we'll never see that again.
Oh,
And then at the
right,
end,
right,
we
right.
end up in that restaurant where he happens to be working. And
Well,
he will die.
don't sell Oscar short. He's an actor.
And a
An
butterfly
actor,
collector.
an incredible actor, apparently, based on his death scene, who's just between gigs at the moment. So he's helping a friend out by running a restaurant and hunting for moths.
Yeah,
in
him and his companion, the woman whose name I can't remember.
Anita.
She was great. I would have had more Anita time.
Sure.
Their whole
Who wouldn't?
It was their whole thing was just so weird.
It was strange.
He's walking around killing butterflies with little cyanide that he carries, which is then used. This episode is brutal. Like there's the doctors murdering people with chloroform laced cyanide, and there's people getting stabbed, and it's
There's
rough.
rotting bodies on a space station. There's butchery that's going to happen. Yeah, there's a lot. in this one.
Cannibalism.
But that's another
so
one.
We introduced this sort of funny comic relief duo that eventually lead the doctor to the abandoned hacienda, where an old
and
lady gets snuffed out for no reason.
For no reason.
It could have just been an abandoned.
She doesn't just get
hacienda.
snuffed out. She gets eaten.
She does, but
She
there's no
gets
meat
eaten.
on her bones, and the guy's
There's no
so
meat.
mad about
She's
that.
all gristle and bone. Poor thing.
Right. So there's no reason to have her, because also the woman reads her mind. But does she get any valuable information from her mind?
She knows that there's no one around for miles,
Yeah, that's
or
all
no
she
one's
got.
going to be near there, even though they're near Seville.
Yeah.
Like that's
Could have
it.
looked out the window of the spaceship when you were flying it to figure that out.
Right. Have we seen a Santaran battle cruiser before? We've seen the Santaran like
The
capsule,
spheres?
small ship, landing on the first time we saw the Santarans. But I don't remember ever seeing the Spheres Santaran battle cruisers before.
Well, the spheres, I can't remember Santaran experiment. Weren't they in the spheres in that one?
It was in a like a single person sphere. Like these
Okay.
seem to me to be much bigger.
Well, they
maybe?
must have. At
I don't know. You
least
could never
fit
see this.
3 people, because you see
Right.
that second sphere land, and then 3 dudes walk out. One of them being Dastari, head of projects, Space Station Chimera. I'm gonna spend all my time. So we get to there. The poor chef, Shockeye, literally does spend all 3 parts wanting to eat a human. Like that's all
Yeah.
that he wants. He has one goal.
That was the whole reason they came to Earth.
Yeah, because he wants to sample the local delicacies.
Yeah,
And
apparently
he
it'd be
never gets
tasty.
it, and I sort of feel bad
No.
for him. I kind of wanted it to work out. It's like
know.
every time he, is getting there to
He got so
hack
close.
people up.
Well, that's what happens though. Both Perry and Jamie at 2 different points in the story would have been butchered if someone else hadn't come in just to interrupt them just in time. And I get it's so lazy. That's so annoying.
That's where I would agree with you as well. Like we talk about how convenient that he is going to see Dastari, but there's so many moments of convenience when characters are going to get killed. And
Yes.
the doctor's hiding usually doesn't seem to be even all that nervous that somebody's going to die, and then something dumb happens, like whether it's Perry knocking on the door before the second doctor's going to get his something cut off.
Oh, that's right. Yeah,
They
that's
say
right too.
something. I don't remember what. He's like that, got a chainsaw or something to his face.
Right, they were going to
late-
remove his occipital lobe.
Yeah, later you're saying Perry is about to get killed, and I think he's interrupted
Chasine
by
comes in or
Yeah.
Dastari come in. Yeah,
yeah,
same
and then
thing with
later
Jamie.
a third time Jamie.
Exactly, the same time. And I mean, with those lazy coincidences, the doctor being chased by Shockeye and stumbles across the moth net and cyanide, just laying in the middle of the countryside. He just happens to run. It just
exactly
that's lazy.
all those kind of things. But then he murders him like I've never seen someone murder before. net over his face. It looks like it
And
could
then
have been
holds the cyanide over Shock Guy's face until he collapses, and that takes a good
like
15
Layla could
seconds.
have been playing, and it's like the scene in Goodfellas when he's taking out all the people that messed up the robbery.
And then to top it all off, he's standing over the corpse, the guy he just murdered, standing over his corpse and says, "You got your just desserts."
Yeah. Oh, that was so corny. But yeah, that's what
so
I mean. Like,
bad.
it is funny and dark, and it
Yeah,
makes no apologies
how-
about it. And because it commits to it, it works for me.
How funny is it intentionally, and how funny is it unintentionally? Like,
I think
like
it's
Oscar's
100% intentionally funny.
I don't. Maybe Oscar's death.
Yes, I feel like Oscar's death is horribly violent, and then I
Yes.
feel like when he dies,
And he
it's
gives it the
a
soliloquy
farce.
from
Like,
Hamlet.
It's intentionally supposed to be funny. It reminded me of
But-
Paul Rubens in his death in the Buffy
Oh,
movie.
Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Yeah.
Like,
I guess, except, fine, if it had just ended right there, but then Anita's at his feet. Her friend just got stabbed to death. The doctor goes running off and leaves Perry with the two of them. Perry's all awkward, doesn't say a word,
Right,
just kind of
she's the
taps
only one
Anita on the
breathing.
shoulders, like, as if to say, "You'll get over it," and then just goes running off. It was just real uncomfortable.
It is, and they're selling it, and he talks about like you would never would have seen my Hamlet, right, or something.
Right. We'll
And
be
then
there on the
doctor
opening night.
says, like whatever.
Okay.
It is on the border of if it's not intended to be kind of winky, it's horrible.
Yeah, that's why I couldn't quite tell either. I couldn't tell which parts were real bad or some were like good.
Wait, well,
bad.
we got to back up a little bit because we
Please
talked
do.
a little bit about Perry and the doctor, their relationship. And both you and I came to the conclusion, or not the conclusion, but the thought that it almost appears that Perry mouths a-hole at the doctor
Yes.
when he's being a jerk to her. Or so,
He pats her
says
on the
something.
head and says that the human brain can be very effective when used properly, something to that effect, and turns away. And she mouths something at him. And I went back and watched it a couple times. I will post the gif of it because I swear to God she says a-hole.
There's no subtitles, obviously.
There's no subtitles on that one.
Yeah, I can't believe that she does. Although they let some things go by the censors, like who is the woman from Spain?
Oh,
Like her shirt's coming open too, and
Oh,
like,
Anita,
you
yeah,
get
yeah.
full view of like so
I
like
thought you meant the old woman.
there's yeah.
Donna Reda's top is off.
Yeah, but I can't imagine that she actually says that.
Hang on. I'm pulling it up right now because pats her on the head. He turns away and she mouths, "No, it is absolutely a-hole." It is. There's just no.
Because it should be, and she's within her right to say.
Oh, it's completely earned.
'Cause
I mean,
he
he is.
yeah.
He is. Anyway, so that's fun.
Yeah, and the reason why I bring up the actor's death being intentionally funny, because there is no other reading to the Shockeye Doctor crazy person team up where the two old hobos put on their
So
Sunday
fun.
best looking for food.
It was so fun.
That was ridiculously good. And I would
I
watch
absolutely-
a whole show of just them going city to city, solving crime and looking for food. Like
Possibly eating cats and other animals.
And
Yeah,
another thing is they hook them up like to a car battery, and they're gonna take the essence of this lower class or whatever humanoid type thing.
Yeah.
And put 50% in the doctor, but that's
and then it's going to
150%,
start.
so where's the other
50%
50%
and starts
of the
building
doctor?
up and building up over time, and then 100%. And then it affects the other doctor in that timeline, so he starts to feel it as well. Now, I guess.
Yeah, but
Do all of the incarnations are all the incarnations of the Doctor feeling this, or is it also because of this experiment that they're
we
in
don't
some
know.
sort of bubble?
Right, we don't know.
Anyway,
it's a little weird. He gets a
it
couple
would
jokes
be great.
about eating cats and dogs.
Yes, it would be fantastic if we went back and looked at every Doctor, and somewhere in there was a moment where they just like got really ravenous about, oh my god, it was all true from the beginning.
Yeah. Well, hey, if I ever
never
get
happened.
put on one of these Doctor Who comics, I will absolutely do that with whatever doctor they give me.
Thank you.
So they do a line that, okay, well, after this procedure, we have to stabilize him. And then
Yes.
later on, they kind of say, because if we don't, he'll just go back to normal. And he just goes back to normal like nothing's changed, right?
So
The
that's
doctor
why he
just-
regresses back to normal. It's just because they didn't do the
because
stabilization
they didn't do
part
the
of it.
because later on when they're being
Yeah.
pursued, when it's Shockeye and what's her name? Shasine? No, what's her name?
Chasine.
Just
Chasini.
She
Chasini.
says something like, "We got to hurry, or we got to find him because if he doesn't get
Oh,
stabilized,
okay.
him, he'll go
Right.
back to normal." And that's what he does because they
Right.
eat literally everything in the restaurant. And that scene was fun. Like that
scene
was
was
like
great.
a funny, like goofy thing.
And when Oscar presents the bill to Shockeye, and he doesn't quite know what it is, and the two of them going back and forth about what it is. Yes, I honestly, that was up until that part of this story. It was just like, okay, it's fine. But then you're right. I could watch Troughton do this character, this version of the Doctor,
he committed,
for ages.
and the makeup was great. Like it was
Fantastic.
It was awesome.
I mean, it wasn't. Yes, the makeup itself wasn't anything. It was orange eyebrows and a couple moles.
Yeah, but it was so goofy.
But the way,
like it-
but no,
yeah.
but it was his face. Like he embodied this different version of this character so beautifully.
Oh yeah, he
like that's
sold
what I
it.
loved.
He committed
Yes.
to that role, and it was great. But yeah, so then you have the murder of the actor, and it goes like, I guess it's not funny, or is it funny?
Or is it? Yeah,
And then all of a sudden, the Doctor sort of is back to being the Doctor.
right. It just
everything's
wore off
fine,
then.
so.
Yeah.
Then there's a lot of the stuff. Okay, there's a lot of time rules about. Now it's a symbiotic relationship between the Time
Yeah.
Lord and the TARDIS, or a time machine, and they've got to prime the machine, and then he takes
Via
the
the-
flux capacitor out so it doesn't work, and then he puts it back in, but he changes. He's like messes
Just
with the
enough.
membrane enough that it's only going to work. There's a lot of that, like, okay, I get. Like, the story
Yeah.
parts of this don't hold together. But for some reason, the parts outweigh the, it's better than the sum of its parts or whatever.
Right. I mean,
on that. Maybe I have it reversed.
No, I agree. I think it's the things that are about this individual story are pretty good. It's the things when they try to expand the mythology of it. So now there's this Rassilon imprimatur that primes these. And there's the Brio nebulizer, and no one,
because that
seriously.
is we should say the original plan, or the plan of Dastari and Cassini is to somehow isolate the part of, the Doctor's biological makeup that
figure out where that
bonds
is
with it and extract it in some capacity and give it to her.
Right.
Because he's gonna, superpower her even more.
Yeah, exactly, and that goes beautifully well. Yeah. Again, it's just like it seems like a lot of complication here, which is fine.
it's a
But then
little
there was just so much other stuff that didn't really need to have all this.
There's
Like,
lots
again,
of extra details, like, the Sontarans are going to set up a booby trap on their ship that the guy's going to forget about and then go to fly, and then it blows
Right?
up.
No, he just totally killed himself. Right? That was a cell phone.
He killed
100%.
himself, and it was like, okay, what are we going to do with this guy? Well, we'll just have him kill himself.
Yeah,
It
totally
gave
fine,
us
I
an
guess.
explosion, which was cool. So you got that.
Yeah.
I think there was a lot of cocaine on set, perhaps. Like something maybe was going on.
Allegedly, we can't
Allegedly.
confirm
Yeah, I don't
or
know
deny
if that's
that was the case, but it could have been.
Yeah, did we do everything already? Did we cover the whole two Doctors? Because I know we got some feedback to read through.
Yeah, I don't. Oh well, there was a second. Where's Shockeye? He's been mothballed. So he got two quips about this guy he just murdered with his bare hands, which was
Speaking
dark.
of Shockeye, did you think that his betrayal, him being betrayed, would have had more of an effect than it did?
How betrayed was he?
Well,
really?
he got shot and then, or tranquilized or whatever, and then put on the operating table and hooked up to the Doctor. Remember,
But was he going to be killed from that? I mean, they were just
going to
taking
be
his
killed,
genetic.
but he just
yeah,
wanted
so
to
I don't know
eat,
this.
and so they didn't say, "Hey, we're going to do this to you."
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, no, that didn't.
Yeah, I thought he was going to be
he
more
wasn't in
angry
any
about
danger.
it. He
No,
was
I
like
don't-
back on her side almost immediately afterwards.
Yeah, that was fine.
I felt
with
like
me.
they were going
I-
to play with that because there's the whole thing where
She's
she's
kinda
between
traded-
cultures, right? So
Yes,
she's talking to
yes.
Dastari, and she doesn't want to give up on her roots, and there's that back and forth. But
that might have been more interesting.
Yeah,
if
that
they had
never
done that.
really went anywhere.
No,
I mean, there was
It
never,
It would have been more interesting had they done a little bit of that, but it was fine. There was so much else going on that they needed to get to. including I just hope they get to go back fishing because we heard about Gumblejacks about 20 times
so
in
many
this.
times Gumble. I
friggin'
was
story.
like, is that a real thing? I should look that up, and I did not.
No, why would you? You know it's not. It's just a stupid made up thing that they kept doing over and over
They
again.
kept
That just
saying
killed me.
Gumblejacks. Yeah.
Gumblejacks. Okay.
But I did to talk about the vegetarianism thing. I did
Oh.
like the idea that there were, the parallels, and these are dumb animals, and it doesn't matter. And they don't feel. There's a line about not feeling pain, and people have
Right.
said that all the time about eating animals that they're, they don't feel as
They
much
don't feel
pain
pain.
as humans, and it's just
They
not
don't feel it
true
in the
most
same
cases.
way.
There you go.
Yeah, I know.
And
hear
I
you.
did learn, and I didn't do much research, but I did see that Robert Holmes was a vegetarian at the time that he wrote this. I don't know if he remained one, but that was part of his intent.
No, he was up until this point, and then
Yeah,
he
then
made
he
him
just
hungry.
started
So he's
eating
like, "I'm gonna start
Gumblejacks.
eating meat
Once
now."
you go on Gumblejacks,
You're done.
No
You're done.
going back.
So yeah, I mean, I think Jamie really wasn't put to a whole lot of use here. The fact that he was kind of left behind on the space station and living in the bowels of it for
Just
who knows how
attacks
long. and
Perry
then,
like a savage, only to get
how
those
long was he
really
down
dumb
there?
neck pricks thing that the doctor is carrying around. Like, remember
Yeah,
he just started
yeah,
poking him with he's doing like acupuncture on his neck.
and the doctor hypnotizes him, which is very much a master sort of thing to do, which felt weird. So the doctor's gained a lot of powers.
Yeah,
in
they're
this
just adding
story
some things in
for
that-
no reason.
as needed.
Soon he'll be able to fly, just for no reason. It's fine. What else? Oh, we did actually. I couldn't quite tell. I'm gonna check again when I go back and make the gifts. I think Perry is in lower high heels this time, but yet she still manages to trip and fall and get attacked by Shot Guy. So that's fun. At least she gets to do that.
I will say
she,
one positive
She also
Perry-
faints once. She faints
does.
while they're on the space station. So she faints, trips, and gets captured all in one story, which is like a trifecta.
Considering all of that, she bothered me less so this story than the last one. I don't know what that means.
Okay.
Enjoying her more, or she had better things to do in this one,
Or there was less of her.
or there was
I don't know.
less of her,
Maybe.
perhaps.
Maybe.
But
I guess.
I felt
Yeah.
like there was not as much whining and stuff in this. I guess there was a lot of screaming because she's going to be eaten. And by the way,
I
it's
feel like- yeah.
they send her into the house.
Yeah. She's supposed to be causing the distraction, which I think she actually came up
She
with a
did a
pretty nice
good job.
plan.
She did a good
where she
job
was
with that
like, yeah,
distraction.
I'm going to be leading a group of Americans. And Chessini even says to her, Americans, as though she doesn't quite buy the accent either, which was kind of fun.
Right.
Yeah, they just put her right in peril, but that's fine. They had other things to do.
That's cool.
Anyway, I think we
I think we did
covered
it.
this one. Overall, I mean, yes, I liked it, even though we can pick apart all the things that maybe just don't make sense to me, and everything else actually was really great.
Yeah,
but
I really
if
liked
for
it.
no other reason than seeing the second Doctor and Shot Guy go
yeah.
on a eating binge, like that's all you need from
Just
this,
for that,
this story.
this is definitely a story I would watch again.
Oh,
Easy.
I would watch
'Cause it was
again
entertaining.
with some fast forwarding.
It's
Sure.
not my favorite by any means, but
Right.
it was enjoyable. Like it was different than some of the stuff we did. It's absurd
Yeah,
and it's bonkers, and I like all that.
I can't imagine what this story would have been had it not been the sixth Doctor, and maybe
it
been
was like a
even the
Tom
fifth,
Baker
even the
story or
fifth.
something.
Yeah, if it had been Tom Baker for sure, but even if it had been the fifth Doctor, it would have been, I think, more interesting than having it with this one. But regardless, it is what it was. It was overall pretty good.
Yeah, what did you think, listeners? Let us know. Did anybody tell us
Yeah.
what they thought of this one? I know we got one email that I'm aware of, but
We got an email, but it wasn't directly about this. I did let you guys know that this is what we're reviewing. Obviously, you can check that out at the olddoctorwhoshow.com, and you can see our schedule there, so you can see what stories we're going to be doing. So I just quickly asked you folks yesterday, what did you think? I got a reply from the Doctor Who Show, not to be confused, sibling show here, who says, location filming looks great, as it often does in the classic era. The story itself is too long, however, and just doesn't feel right. Very little interaction between 2 and 6 is the most bizarre and missed opportunity imaginable. Real odd story. I think I mostly agree with all that. Yeah, I'd say that it was too long. I could cut out the whole Sontaran stuff. Eric loved the Sontarans and just wanted double the amount of them.
well, come on.
Oh,
I'm just saying
basically-
I liked
I
having
know.
two villains that weren't on the same
gotcha.
side. I like the double
I like the
crossing.
double crossing stuff was interesting. How we didn't actually speak about the Sontaran prosthetics
There was some
on their
fat
face.
on this bone you could have trimmed, Dan.
Very well said. The prosthetic the faces, the masks for the Sontarans looked worse than they have in the past.
They were not good.
They were really bad, and they were just really bad. They were just horrible all around. Okay, so I just want to mention that real quick. Our friend Bernard says, enjoy that glorious filmic location footage while we can. Apparently that's going to be going away. He continues to say, Peter Moffat shows why he's one of the worst suited Who directors in the canon. His studio work is simply unacceptably lazy, but a good location film director. It was fine. I think I don't know how much the director has a say in the overall production design for any given story, but I thought the production design and the way that they were able to use their budget looked great. I think all the interiors looked very good. All the studio stuff, just from the production design work, looked great.
Yeah, it was
maybe the lighting wasn't as great as it could have been. Maybe some of the camera work wasn't inspired, but it was fine.
Well,
it was good.
I kind of liked the light. There was a lot of like moody things with light coming through fences.
Oh yeah, there was that. I noticed that too. Right when they're like in a barn, they're gonna go pull up the trap door, and there's like hay everywhere.
Yeah,
the slatted light that looked great.
It felt like well lit type moody pieces, so I liked it.
Lastly, Chris Ups says to us, why is the Sixth Doctor's incarnation obsessed with genetic mutation or engineering? Remember, this is the Ranes thing. Rani. It'll show up again. I don't know that he necessarily had so much of an obsession with it as the story writer did. Like, it just keeps coming back around.
We've seen that in Mark of the Rani, and now this. I'm trying to think of the other stories we did if they had genetic mutation in their.
Yeah, but it's not so much that number 6 is so obsessed with it. It just happens to be stories that have that as an element around him.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I think his point is that a lot of the stories for this Doctor have to do with it.
Okay.
But I'm saying I just knew those two we did, right? So maybe there's going to be more coming. Like Twin Dilemma was just math. I think those kids were just good
mostly
at math. Vengeance on Varos. That was the awesome one about the televised pit. But did we have mutation in that? I don't know. We'll see. Maybe Time Lash is all about genetic.
I hope it's all mutation all the time. So those are. Thank you guys for those tweets. We did, however, get a very nice email. Again, at the old Doctor Who show at gmail.com. From a listener, Mike Inslee. Mike goes at length about some recommendations that he has for us, including we should go back and take a look at Blake 7. Apparently,
a lot of people
Cassini in this was in Blake 7 as a main character there, which is kind of interesting.
A lot of people have recommended that show to me, which I have not seen, but I should.
Yeah, I would like to check it out as well. I think it's all on BritBox now, so we should definitely take a look at that. So thank you for the recommendation there. Let me just read the beginning. Only because it's so self-serving. You just said some very nice things to us, so I just want to enjoy that on the air. He says, I've been meaning to write to you guys for a while, so I've got a few things. First off, I'm a huge fan of your show. I've listened to all of your episodes and often repeat listenings as I love listening to you guys talk whilst I'm going about my day. You have a great sense of humor, and I love the way you treat Doctor Who with equal measure fondness and fun poking. You guys make a lovely show. So I just wanted to say thank you very much. That is, we appreciate that so much. And he does go on to recommend some of the Big Finish stories, filling in some of the gaps in our knowledge about stuff like that. So I will absolutely take your recommendations on those, and also some recommendations on some stories that we should add for our second time around. So thank you very much for that email.
Thank you. It was very kind. And you should also write us, as Dan had said, and also review us on iTunes because we didn't get any.
No new ones this time.
International or U.S.
Nope, nothing this time. So I know that we're getting more and more listeners as the weeks go on, so we appreciate that. But you can help spread the love by adding a review to iTunes, whatever iTunes store you happen to listen to, or any other place you get your podcast, the Google Play store, Stitcher. Etc. Stitcher. That'd be awesome. I don't think we have anything else. If you guys want to let us know what you think about this story, get in touch with us there. We're at TODW Show on Twitter, TODW Show on Instagram, where we'll post the GIFs after the story is released. And on Facebook, we are facebook.com/.
We're still TODWS.
There you go.
We'll change it at some point.
No, it's fine. It's fine. That's just the oddball. If you want, you can also tweet at me at DanJNJ. And don't tweet at Eric because he doesn't like Twitter anymore.
I'm still on it, but I also don't like Twitter anymore. It's so depressing. I was just talking like the only thing it is literally just like, oh, what's awful? Oh,
yeah, but I want to know about what's awful right away.
Somebody said that. Yeah, then it's like, ugh.
I just want
What
to
do
follow down that
I do
rabbit
that for? Yeah, but you can hit me at eGrissom. If you have to.
Make the pain stop.
If I get to 1,000 followers, maybe I feel a little bit better about myself, and then I'll shut it down.
Yeah, get up to the threshold number, and then just completely kill it.
I don't get a lot of value out of it, I think. Right? I think half the people that follow me probably muted me. The other half are bots. So it's like, what's the point?
Oh, almost entirely bots following me. But that's fine. All right, I think that does it. Until our next one, you guys should be watching after this will be Time Lash, which just sounds great. Now, I don't know if it's any good, but it sounds great.
I know nothing about this one.
Me neither.
But I have a suspicion. Was this one of the ones people said was terrible and we should do?
I have a feeling all of them are. I don't know.
Well, we will find out. So maybe this is going to be a wonderful story.
Even if it's horrible, it's going to be great. So
yeah.
All right. Thanks everybody. Bye.
See you.
Tonight I'm all alone in my room. I'll go insane if you won't sleep with me. I'll still be with you. I'm gonna meet you on the ice cream plane. The ice cream plane for dark at night. The ice cream plane, or I'll go insane. Well, I don't see you and it's getting dark. Today we should have gone to a Central Park. Well, don't you want to see me ever again? If not, I'll meet you on the astral plane. Astral plane for late at night. The astral plane, or I'd go insane.
Where's my robot, you know?